Amy Thurman back again with 100 Days, 100 Emotions. We're on day 66 today, talking about irritation. If you have wanted to see the rest in this series, then go to hashtag 100 Days, 100 Emotions. That's the numerical number 100, streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and you can find the rest of them there. If you would like to be a special guest, I would love to plug you in and have you on the series. We can find an emotion that works for you. And I would love to hear your experience with that emotion. I have a special surprise for my special guest that I haven't announced yet, but it's something that you will want to be a part of. So I would love to get you plugged in. Okay, so today we're talking about irritation. I want to remind you that the purpose of this series is to help us remember that it's part of being human. Having emotions is part of being human. Feeling them is part of what we do as humans. It's something that is normal, that's natural, and trying to fight them or push them away just makes things worse. And so I love bringing on people to share their stories of when they have experienced these emotions to help us realize it's part of being human and that you're just normal. You're just a normal human being. So let me introduce you to my special guest today. This is Rachel McCallum, and I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you so much for joining me, Rachel.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Just
Yeah,
wanted to mention the phone was on Do Not Disturb.
oh, okay. Yes, I got it. That I had to do that myself too.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. I'd like to start by using this as a springboard to our conversation. Just this little piece of text that kind of explains what we're talking about. That irritation is a common response to a circumstance that causes annoyance, discomfort, or impatience. And oh my goodness, have I felt this in my life? Like literally, all of us have felt irritation before. And when I think about irritation, especially about the impatience part, I am living with a teenager. Like my son is a teenager, and they can be so challenging at times just because, it's just part of being a teenager, right? You're trying to figure things out. And anyway, that's what comes to mind when I think of irritation. That makes me so sad that that's what comes to mind. But those of you who have teenagers or who have had teenagers completely understand what I'm talking about. Oh my goodness. But Rachel, I would love to know, I would love for you to share a little bit about your story, however much you want to share, and then your
Yeah, of
experience with
course.
irritation and how you have what you have learned from it.
Yeah, so actually, when I was doing my research, I had originally, I remember, come to you saying, do you have so much for frustration yet? Because I was very interested in frustration. That's been a huge emotion for me basically my whole adult life. And so you already had somebody, so
Yeah.
I went with irritation. And so I Googled what's the difference between frustration and irritation. And basically, irritation is what you mentioned. Annoyance, discomfort, or impatience. And frustration is more specifically has to do with being annoyed, feeling discomfort or being impatient because something is blocking you from accomplishing a goal or something like that. So, yeah, it's two sides of a coin, kind of.
Right. They are so similar, but there is a distinct
Yeah,
difference, right?
yeah. So I've experienced plenty of that in my adult life. So my story, I am a 30-year pediatric brain tumor survivor. So I was diagnosed in 1993 and I was in kindergarten at that point. And so there's a lot of frustration and irritation that has come up as an adult because I'm sort of part of the first generation of childhood cancer survivors who really made it to adulthood and we're living our lives now and everything.
Wow.
So for a long time, there was the bar was set at essentially, if you lived 5 years past your diagnosis, then hooray, you live, you survive, you're good.
Yeah.
And that definition didn't really evolve with more, better treatments and everything. And so there are more and more people like me who are living, and so I'm taking all that frustration, that irritation that I've come across just trying to get by with all the complications, all the late effects, physical and emotional, and that, there's just so much having to go through all of that when you're a kid, and then just you're all of a sudden you're an adult and you know that there's stuff that still affects you, and there's still stuff that could happen in the future, even far out. Just that's why they're called late effects. And so there's always that little worry, and at the same time you're trying to navigate things as an adult, and for me as a millennial, so millennial and cancer survivors it's kind of a double win for me, like in just like getting my adult independence established. And honestly, I'm still working on that, but I over the past year I moved from Southern California. I've lived in Southern California my entire life, and I moved across the country. I'm in the Baltimore area now, and I'm very far out of my comfort zone. I wanted to see what I could do to expand my advocacy efforts, to see if I went out and got outside of my comfort zone, that if I could, get growing, I guess. There was another LinkedIn Live I was watching earlier today. They were talking about traumatic growth, and it's different than PTSD, of course. It's because it's not like the mental disorder or whatever. It's just like how people can come about just like personal growth from all the experiences that they have. So yeah, I feel like my entire adult life has been an experiment in post-traumatic growth. And
I can't imagine. I mean, you're doing so much to be independent. And didn't you just recently speak in Washington, D.C. on this topic?
Yeah, actually, I just spoke at the White House, and that was extremely stressful for me.
I bet.
Because it was very last minute that I found out, and so that was, I don't know, I guess sort of irritating, getting ready for that, frustrating.
But you did so well. I watched your speech and I was cheering for you. I was like, yes, Rachel, yes. You did so well. So good.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. Like, I'm sitting here thinking so many questions I want to ask you. And obviously I want you to only talk about what you feel comfortable talking about. But as a kindergartner, I'm thinking as a kid in kindergarten, you're diagnosed with this brain tumor. And then what does life look like after that? You go from one day being a fairly completely normal kid, normal, to what happens then? Like, did you instantly go and have brain surgery, or I can't imagine.
Yeah, so well, February 1993 is when I had a brain surgery, and they did like a biopsy or whatever to determine like what kind of brain tumor it was and everything. And at that point, the surgery removed 95% of my tumor. Um, but and a lot that's another one of those annoying things about survivorship and people thinking, oh, you're done when your treatment is done, or that everybody gets to ring a bell at the end of chemo or whatever.
Right.
You know,
Right.
you're in remission, or NED, which is no evidence of disease, or something like that. Well, I never got anything like that. I just had 95% of the tumor removed, and then it was in sort of a dangerous place, so they were afraid to, take all of it out.
Right.
And then I had radiation, I had chemo, and then I had MRIs to keep track of it for a while, and they got less and less frequent. And then eventually I was kind of just told I was stable and to go to the emergency room to get an MRI if I had any crazy symptoms all of a sudden.
Wow.
And luckily I haven't had any really crazy, but there have been, the gradual things. I have a severe to profound hearing loss. I have, I've had depression, anxiety. I was recently diagnosed with ADHD, and
As an adult, that's happening more and more now. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's just cognitive processing issues and things like that. There's just a lot. But
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, so were you ever like unable to care for yourself?
Honestly, I mean, I'm lucky because, as I said in the Lighthouse piece, I'm lucky that I don't need a 24-hour caretaker or anything. I
Yeah.
do the basic things myself, and I've just never been able to find, what everyone, I guess, not everyone, I mean, everyone is extreme, but, the American ideal of independence that is basically based on this capitalist, ableist, idea of how things are, where you have a salary and benefits and all of this stuff. This is also generational because a lot of people who were maybe in Gen X or in baby boomers may have had something secure like that, whereas millennials are we're struggling. We're struggling, and like I said, it's double whammy being a survivor and a millennial at the same time. But yeah, I don't think I've ever been like fully independent. Even right now, I am staying with my boyfriend and my boyfriend's dad, rent free, and and I've always lived when I was back in California. I was always living with my parents or relatives, or well, okay, there was one time that I had a relatively independent experience, which was when I was in grad school. I lived near the campus with roommates in a house, and that was the greatest sense of independence I've ever actually had. But now I have all these student loans to pay back. I took out all these student loans to have that independence. And
yes. I would love for you to share. You were talking about before we came on about how strong your mom is. And I would really like you to honor that on live. You were telling me about how you were in kindergarten when you were diagnosed with this brain tumor. And then, yeah, talk a little bit about that and your mom, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, so I would love for my mom to hear about this.
Yeah, me too.
She really is. She's really, my hero. Because like even now when I think about it your goal to get people talking about their emotions. I feel often that my family doesn't talk about emotions much. Mm-hmm. And yes, I've been irritated and frustrated with that. But as a recent social work grad, and also someone in my 30s who's about, the age that my parents were when I was diagnosed, I'm realizing that my mom was just doing the best. My mom and dad were just doing the best that they could with the resources that they had. That's sort of the social work perspective. And, it's amazing for a childhood brain tumor survivor to have a master's degree. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, a lot of us, will not even make it through, undergrad. But,
right.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. And you were talking about how you were the oldest child at that time. I don't know if you still are, but then you had a younger sibling, and then your mother was pregnant at the time when you were diagnosed, and how she had to manage all of that and how much that meant to you. And I just really wanted you to share that, wanted to get that out here on the live so that you could honor her in that way.
I'm the oldest of 3 kids. And so my mom had my sister, who was like a toddler at the time, and she was actually pregnant with my brothers. So she had a lot on her plate. And yet she let me choose, I guess the advice that parents get is to let their child at least have some autonomy in the choices they make. And I guess my thing was that we found out about my tumor because of a crooked smile in my kindergarten photo.
Really?
And so I had so I had just started school, and I just started school with all my friends and everything, and I did not want to go hole up in a Ronald McDonald house or something, and get stuck in the hospital and not go to school like my friend. And so my mom, she drove me from Orange County. We were living in Orange County at the time, and all the specialists were up in LA. And so if you know anything about Southern California driving, it's, oh my gosh, the traffic is so bad. And imagine having 3 small children to haul around. And this is long before there are iPads or anything to keep them occupied.
Right.
So, yeah. But this is all kind of stuff that I talked about in my blog when I had a chance to be a guest blogger on the Children's Cancer Cause website in 2021. You can probably include that in like the links or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so I talk about a lot of this stuff in those blogs about.
Okay. Awesome. I'll definitely link to that so that people who want to go check that out can, because, oh my goodness, your story is so amazing. That was one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here, because you're just amazing. Like all that you have been through and all that you've accomplished, given all that you've been through, is just astounding to me. Like you can come on here and have this conversation. You can go to the White House and give a talk. It's just so,
Yeah,
so cool.
that is, I mean, I amaze myself sometimes. Well, I mean, on the rare occasion that I something big like that happens is when the White House thing happened, or when I as I say, I shoot my shot back in 2021 when Steve Wasala had just become the new CEO at Children's Cancer Cause. I just emailed him about setting up a meeting, and he had his communications person in the meeting, and we talked about maybe doing a guest blog. And then I got talking about how many ideas and experiences I had to talk about, and I ended up doing a dozen. And I didn't know if they were going to be able to pay me at first, and then I ended up getting like a $300 check or something, and that was
that's good.
All very, very exciting, and has led to me networking and trying to advocate because of that irritation, that frustration that I felt, just having to deal with all of these things, wanting to be an advocate for the kids that are growing up now, because more and more people are going to be living, but a lot of the research has not expanded really over the over the past few decades. Like, actual cancer treatments haven't changed all that much, and so a lot of the things that cause late effects are, people are still getting a lot of the same late effects at this point, but the attention to survivorship, like I mentioned before, has kind of lagged behind. And so,
well, I'm so glad that you have been able to push through that frustration and push through that irritation and make a difference. Use it for good to make a difference. That's so good. And I would love for those of you watching, if you would like to join in the conversation, please share with us what irritation has taught you. Because as you can see through this, it has many lessons to teach us. It can be used for good. It can be a good thing if we will allow it to be, and allow it to be used that way in our lives. So I would love for you to join the conversation and share that with us. If you have watched these before, you know that I use an AI image generator to create an image that represents the emotion of the day. So when I ask it to create irritation, these things blow my mind. I love doing this. It's like art therapy, because you can look at it and see it from a different perspective, and everybody sees something different. So for those of you watching, I would love to hear how you analyze this, what you see in this image about irritation. So let me pop this up, and then I will full screen it. And there's a motorcycle outside okay. Okay, so this is what it gave me when I asked it for irritation. And man, this is it's mind-blowing to me, because it looks to me like an explosion. Like, frustration it can lead to anger, which would represent this for sure. But yeah, what do you see in this regarding irritation, Rachel?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like you said, I see that explosion of anger, of frustration, of irritation. Actually, that article that I sent you before was they said that it's easier to manage your emotions if you have this emotional granularity, is the way that they phrased it. And that meant not just thinking about anger, but being able to separate into anger, frustration, irritation, the various annoyances or whatever. And so that, yeah, so that all the things exploding that kind of, could be varying things that are just coming out, varying emotions that are coming out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, because there's so much, like on the outer edges, it's so dark. And then right in the middle, it's so light, which that can happen with any emotion. We can do that with any emotion. We can take it from darkness to make it into something light and use it to help us, use it for our good.
Yeah, definitely.
And like you were saying, that emotional granularity, that is the purpose of this series, is to help us, because what she's talking about is the emotional granularity is not seeing emotions in such a wide general area, but making them more specific. And when we experience them, realize exactly which emotion we're experiencing, and then our bodies come to learn. We're teaching our bodies what that emotion is and how to deal with it in a better way. And so that's one of another reasons for this series, is to help us understand that there are so many emotions out there. When we can teach our bodies what they are, our bodies just respond better to them. And so I hope that purpose is coming across in the last, 66 days. But I would love for you to connect with Rachel if you're interested in learning more about her, or the blog that she has done, or anything that she's working with. I'm going to tag her in the LinkedIn. And if you are, and on Facebook and YouTube, I will put her LinkedIn profile in the comments. But didn't you say, Rachel, that you have a group on Facebook?
Yeah, it's my page on Facebook is called Surviving Survivorship, and I'm kind of claiming that as my hashtag now, Surviving Survivorship, because
that's right, Surviving Survivor. Yeah.
I also on LinkedIn recently, I posted an article that I read and I found really interesting. That was essentially about, surviving a childhood cancer diagnosis is its own journey that lasts throughout your life, kind of thing. And I identified with that so much. I was just like, oh, I'm going to repost this.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll have to go take a look at that. But yes, I will find your link on Facebook, and I will tag that on the Facebook Live as well. And then I will tag you on LinkedIn, and I will put your LinkedIn profile in the YouTube comment. So I hope that covers all of them, so people can find you one way or the other. Okay, thank you so much for being here, Rachel. I have enjoyed hearing your story. Thank you for being vulnerable enough to share it with us, and for using what you've been through to help other people. I know that you're touching lives. I know that you're making a difference out there. And that's what it's all about, right?
Yep. I really hope so. Even if I'm not, making money or anything.
Not yet. Not yet.
Just kind of so many great people, and getting my message out there that, it'll come.
Yeah.
I know.
Yes, it will. You're right. Yes. Okay. Well, until next time, I'll be back tomorrow with another emotion, and I will see you guys then. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting and all the things. You all have been so supportive in this series. If you have found this helpful or think it will be helpful for others, please share it so that we can help other people as well. So thank you for watching, and I will see you guys later. Bye.